When we write code in C++, our code starts off with what we call source code. In this case, this is source code. I'm going to name this sample.cpp. And when I go to compile it, it becomes, if there are no errors, sample.obj, and then ultimately it becomes sample.exe. And the executable file, the executable code, is the code that the computer wants to deal with. So how does that happen? Well, I start off here with sample.cpp, and when I go to compile it, it's pre-processed. And any line that starts off with a pound include means go ahead and include the contents of this file, iostream, in our code. And when I pre-process it, it will also include the contents of the file string in our code. So our code, our little 15 lines here, becomes about 1,000 lines. Now, that's called modified source code. If there are no errors in that, when it's compiled, it becomes object code. Object code is an almost done machine language variation of my original code, and we call that sample.obj. So we start with this code here, sample.cpp. It becomes sample.obj, which is almost done machine language variation of my code, and then it's linked with the linker program, finishing the job, and I have a totally done machine language variation of my code, and that's called sample.exe. And here's a really nice graphic on that. We start off with the source code, sample.cpp, and then it's pre-processed, giving us modified source code. Okay, and pre-process means all the lines would start with a pound include. We're going to include the contents of those files in my source code, giving us modified source code. Then it's compiled, and if there are no errors, it becomes sample.obj, which is an almost done variation, machine language variation of my code. Then I take my sample.obj and I link it with the linker program. That finishes the job, and now I have sample.exe, which is a completely machine language variation of my code, and that's what the computer wants. So I start with sample.cpp, it becomes sample.obj, and then it's linked with the linker, and it becomes sample.exe.